Welcome back, everybody, to the VR Chronicles. Today's show is going to be about blended families, firsthand experience, episode 2. And, I think blended families is definitely a challenge in the beginning when you're integrating new families, new people in the household. And so we want to talk about that, some real life application. And, if my story can help somebody, I would love for it to help somebody. And if anyone has any recommendations, let me know. Throw it in the comments. Let me know, what I could do better. Always looking to improve. But before we get started, you can check out our YouTube channel, the VR Chronicles. Please press that like, subscribe, and share button, comment. Tell us where you're coming from. Also, you can find us on Apple and Spotify. If you can please press that follow button. You won't miss an episode there. The VR Chronicles. But yeah, let's just get into this. Blended families. So I'm speaking from firsthand experience. I got married to my lovely wife in 2021. And this is both of our second marriages. And we have children from our, previous relationships that came together. And so it's funny how God always puts you with your complete opposite. And so my wife had a particular style of parenting, right? And I had my particular style of parenting. And as you know, there's always a clash, right? Especially in the beginning. If you're not trying to be thoughtful about it and you just kind of force your way into relationships, force your way into things, it's going to be tough. It's like swimming against the waves, swimming against the grain. Definitely not downstream. But so a little background information. I served in the military for 15 years of my life, full-time, active duty. I did that. Multiple deployments, did all that cool stuff, right? And so as I was leaving the military, my wife and I, towards the tail end of my career, we got married in 2021. And she has a son, and I had 3 sons. And so as you can tell, she was a woman, amazing mom. She raised single mom, essentially, raising her son the best as she could. And it was completely different. Where I was a military man, single dad at that time, military man, and mostly very militaristic in my parenting. I'm a balanced guy. I definitely believe in discipline because it's kind of ingrained in me because what we did. But also, I kind of let the kids live a little adventure because I love adventure. And so you can imagine both parenting styles clashing. And I can remember, man, it was a challenge. It was a challenge, as you can know. So, my bonus son, very different from, my 3 sons. Very different character, which is amazing. I love him for who he is. But in the beginning, it was hard because he was getting over on his mom all the time. Very common in single mom households. Very common. There's also, there's tough moms out there, but let me tell you, most of the time, mom's going to let the sons get over on them. I mean, that's just how it is, right? Moms have a soft spot for sons, which is totally understandable. And this kid would get over on his mother all the time. And at first, I would just kind of I'll give you an example. Well, let's say we're going to church on a Sunday, and we're sitting at church. You see, my sons, they've done it enough to know. They sit there, they're respectful. They stand up when they have to stand up, sit down when they sit down. Respectful in the process. You understand the environment you're in, so you're going to respect your environment and act accordingly, right? Like anybody else would. And this kid did the opposite, right? Trying to fall asleep, sitting down, didn't want to stand up, complaining that his legs hurt. Doing what young kids do. Because he was, to his credit, and not his fault, he was the youngest. And so, as you know, with the youngest, there's always, I call it the grunt of the family. And so, man, let me tell you, I always, every dad has that look. You give that look like this. The one that you don't got to say anything, but you're saying everything, right? And man, I pulled that boy aside. I say, if you don't act right now and sit up in your chair, we're gonna have some big problems. You're being very disrespectful right now in this process, in this environment. And man, this kid, he cut his eyes so hard. And that's all I said. Because any adult, I'm a firm believer that any adult, if you see a young child acting crazy, an adult should step in and just have a word. Sometimes a correcting word, right? A correcting word is healthy. You're not there trying to spank the kid or humiliate the kid or embarrass a kid. You just have a, hey, knock it off. Let's act right. You're in a spot where you can't be acting like that. And so we get to the parking lot, and this kid was just yanking on his mother's, the sensitivity piece. And man, it was so hard. Obviously, like any blended family in the beginning, and even to now, right? There's times where, there's some head to head conflict between me and her and our parenting styles, but we got a lot better, the past years that went by. And, you know, I remember it was almost a traumatic event for my wife. Essentially, like, I don't raise him like that. I said, yeah, but you're letting him act like a fool in public. It's not good for a young man to learn these things. And so, as you can see, that's a small example, but I'm sure there's fathers in the audience would know, like, yeah, I'm gonna let my kid act. Most fathers are the disciplinary in the house, generally speaking, right? There's definitely moms who are. I know some mothers who don't play games, for sure. But in this situation, it was not like that. Let's fast forward. Let's talk about my sons. And my sons, I will always have to tell them, hey guys, when she's speaking to you, it's like if I said it. So show her the same level of respect you would show me. If she asks you to do something, you acknowledge her and you respond accordingly, right? And my sons, they were even having trouble, right? They were they were respectful, but they were just they were respectful in their conduct. Generally, they're not acting like, they're older, so they're not going to act like a little kid's going to act. But because they were like preteens at the time, they weren't responding when being spoken to, or their body language was off. I know I can catch it. Like, wait, hold on, you're getting out of pocket right now. And so, you can imagine, right? You're a stepmom. You're used to, at the time the youngest was about 9, right? 8 or 9. These kids were like between 12 to 14, 15 years old. And it's a totally different level of parenting. You can't parent an 8-year-old like you're going to parent a 13 or 14-year-old. It's different jumps, right? And so, man, that was hard. So we had a lot of hard conversations. Had a lot repetitive conversations. Maybe some in your face moments with my sons, because I definitely believe in a direct approach. I do believe in discipline, and but when your kids get to a certain age, you don't, my belief system is I don't gotta beat you down and discipline you, spank you, or hit you with the belt just for to get your point. I'm really, I really raise my sons to have critical thinking, to think, speak, articulate yourself, no matter what level of communicator you are. And so they learned that, obviously being growing up with a military dad, I can just literally count on my hand the amount of times I ever spanked them in their whole life. Obviously, when I did, it was I call it a history making moment that they'll never forget. But it happened when they were young. And so with our youngest, right, my bonus son, he had no history making moments, I like to call them. None. So you imagine that's unchecked. And so blended family parenting is difficult. So what I found, let's get to the solution. So what I found was I feel like in many ways we grew up together, me and my youngest son, in regards in our relationship. And, I am so thankful for God for having that kind of relationship with him, because he's teaching me a lot about patience. And I'm a man that struggles with patience just like any other human, right? And God is having my youngest son teach me something about patience, teach me something about understanding different personalities. And let me tell you, it was hard. It did not happen overnight. It did not happen in 1 year. It did not happen in 2 years. Here we are, 5 years later. I feel like now we're like on the same page. Like I understand who he is. He understands who I am. We have a level of respect for one another now. We communicate with each other at each other's levels. Like I can speak with him at his level and get his attention, and he's hearing me. In the beginning, I think that's where it was. It was a break in communication. I was trying to speak from up here, but he was down here, so I had to come meet him where he was at to reach that communication level with him. And so you're learning from that, and you just imagine, if you're married, right, husband and wife. Tell me that does not put some stressors on your marriage. Because one, I'm a faith man, so I believe that if you put God first, because God is the one that loved us, He showed us how to love, and then your spouse, your husband, your wife comes, and your children, your family. If you put it in that order, it just flows freely, right? But in many families, there's parents who they have, just my opinion, they put God like fourth place or fifth place or somewhere on the shelf, and it's like their children, then their spouse, then their mom and dad, then their family, right? And so I really believe if you're out of order, like you're gonna have some problems. You really are. And so I really found that husband and wife stressors definitely was related to parenting styles. But man, husbands, let me tell you, I learned that, there's a verse in the Bible that talks about husbands be understanding to your wife. Remember that, you know, she is like in lame terms, she's not made as mentally or physically strong as you are. They're the fairer sex of the two. And so you have to treat them like a flower. I have a daughter. You treat your daughter with gentleness, with understanding. You speak to them at their level, or you speak with them so they can understand, so that you're hearing them. And so, man, let me tell you, I did a lot of growing up and I'm still learning. There ain't nothing that I don't got to figure it out. Men are from Mars, women from Venus. That is never going to change. But what we could do is, as a husband, as a dad, you definitely can make the effort to, listen to your wife, but at the same time, be assertive, right? Husbands, if you know that there's a lack of discipline and this like chaos in your house, it is your job as the father and the husband of the house. You have to create order in your house. If there's order and there's boundaries, you give your family and your relationships room to thrive in growth, just interpersonally with each other and just generally thriving. If you walk in and your house is crazy 24/7, you best believe your kids are going to grow up crazy 24/7, and they just going to repeat the cycle. But one thing, if I can go to this blended parenting styles, we went through a lot of hills and valleys, mountaintop experiences, right? We definitely took premarital counseling before we got married. And the funny thing is, the counselor specifically talked about different parenting styles that we had to consider. But thankfully so, I've come to realize that my wife and I, we have a lot more things in common than we thought before in regards to how we parent. But what I understand at this stage of my life, especially now having, we have our daughter that ties our whole family together, a beautiful blended family together. And I realize, being more gentle with my daughter, understanding, you have to be as a dad. If you're a girl dad, you know exactly what I'm talking about. With your sons, you got to have a balance. Yes, you can be understanding with your sons, right? But at the same time, you got to have that balance because you're trying to grow men of the future, productive men, whatever that is they're gonna do. That you want them to be productive for their family, productive for their own life, productive in society. Like that's what you want. You don't want, like, no dad wants to raise bums. And that's I refuse to have that in my house legitimately. But it's a good thing. It's a good thing. My wife, she has many stepbrothers and sisters, right? And so there's a lot of half brothers, half sisters, that kind of thing. And my observation of our children, how they enter in the beginning, guys, the, my older sons, the three older ones, will it got tired, and at first a little bit funny, but borderline bullying. I said, man, you guys are just give this dude a break. Give him a break. And then I had to have many conversations with my youngest, with my bonus son, my youngest. I'm like, hey, dude, this is an opportunity for you because I know you're not learning this in school, and maybe you're not learning this with, your other house that you go to with your other family. But here, I want you to learn how to stand up for yourself. It is important for you to learn how to stand up for yourself and assert yourself in a positive way. At the same time, you don't want to be a doormat. You're a man. You're a young man growing to be a man. No woman wants a doormat. No woman's gonna follow a man who's a doormat. And so, you know, I guess it has to be dealing with my military background. I'm consistently talking to them about leadership. Everyone serves as a leader at wherever level they're at in their own life because everyone has an influence over other people. It's just a fact. And so I had many conversations with him about stand up for yourself. Don't let them talk to you like that. Go back in there, stand up for you. I would literally give him tips. Hey, bro, they're making fun of you. Here's a yo mama joke I used to crack when I was in second grade. I literally would send him back into the wolves to learn to stand up for himself. Thank God he began to learn how to stand up for himself. He began to assert himself. Then all of a sudden, you could see like the respect factor between the three brothers and him. And now, here we are, 5 years later. They are legitimately like they look for each other, which is something that I thank God for, right? I thank God that they want to come see us, right? They want to hang out with us. They want to look for each other. They want to hang with each other, their brothers. It's amazing, right? And it's an amazing thing. Now we tie in the baby girl, right? Baby girl, she's about 3 years old. And she is now the new runt of the family, but the only girl. So, as you know, my girl dads, you guys know, we have a special level of protection for our daughters. We even sometimes protect our daughters from their mother. No, but I love my wife. My wife, is God, my wife, and then my children, no doubt. But we have a certain there's our space in a dad's heart that only that daughter can fill. That's it, right? And I think God made it that way. Same for moms and sons, right? I think moms and sons, similar situation, just opposite. It's a very unique relationship, right? And so, man, she is the wild one, right? And now she's running around doing what the other kid used to do. He used to be the annoying one. Now she's running around annoying everybody. And they're like, ah. But the cool thing is in the beginning when she was first born, it was tough, dude. It was so tough. Because the youngest one, my bonus son and my stepson, he had to learn how to, not be like the only young one and be able, because his brothers don't stay with us full time. They live with their moms during the school year, right? And so he had to learn how to be an older brother. And he was even used to that. Just imagine, just like it's like that. You ever seen those memes where like they look at you like, "Oh, you're here now. It's not me no more. It's just now it's both of us. Now we have to compete for mom's attention." That's what it really was, right? And so, now here's the next level of like blended family stuff, right? Now we're trying to, all right, I'm like, hey kiddo, you have some responsibility now. You have to be you're the keeper, you're the protector when I'm not around, when your mom's not around. You have to watch out for her safety. You gotta watch out. You gotta love her because that's your blood. That's your sister. And in the beginning, it was so tough, guys. It's like that rivalry, right? But it was tough. But yeah, be encouraged, parents, that if you stick with it, you stay patient with your kids. Because kids, like, I'm a big fan of Mr. Rogers. I'm a firm believer that kids can teach you stuff. And so many, like, big lessons in this part of my life, my stepson taught me, only he could teach me. I learned that it was okay when a parent makes a mistake. I learned that I can come to him and literally, like, you know how you ask forgiveness for God for doing something bad? I would literally come to him like, hey, bro, I'm asking for forgiveness for this is what I did. Oh, no, it's all good. No, 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 no. I want to let you know it's not all good. I want to point this out that I'm asking for forgiveness because you didn't deserve to be spoken to like that or treated that way. And I really, I really believe that those were the big growing moments for me. Also for him, he's realizing like, man, an adult, an adult figure, a parent figure in my life. Like I'm his bonus dad, right? Coming to me, apologizing for doing something wrong. We from the old school. Have your mother ever said sorry to you for doing something to you? Heck no. And maybe some for the dads, right? But my father, he was a great guy. He didn't have trouble doing that, right? But my mom, forget about it. Latin women, man. Like, what do you mean? I'm not sorry for nothing. I'm your mother. It's all good. It's erased. Oh man. But I'm telling you guys, it's okay. So learning forgiveness with your stepson, or if you have a stepdaughter, in that case, really think that's important. And so, it, just if you're a dad or your mom, how you form the climate in your house is everything. If your house is a chaotic place, you cannot expect a child to grow into a great environment. You cannot expect to have a child who's going to be stable. They're going to be destabilized. And it's so important that we create climates in our house that number one is safe. Number one, safe. Thank God we're in the United States and not overseas, because as a soldier who was deployed a few times, I know it's not safe in some countries. You want a safe environment. You want an environment that's not toxic. You don't want like people using abusive language or abusing you physically, whatever that may be. And number three, you want a house filled with love. And love comes in many different ways. Not only communicating that you love your kids, and obviously you're not even your kids. If you want to demonstrate a healthy marriage to your children, tell show them how much you respect your wife or your spouse. If you're a woman, your husband, show them how much you honor and respect your spouse. Show them that you care about your spouse by the way you serve your spouse, right? There's no greater lesson in life than demonstration. People will do more because what they see versus what they hear. And just a safe environment, an environment filled with love. And definitely, if you're a person of faith, which I always recommend, you know, you want a place to be peaceful. You want the peace of God in your house. I'm a Christian, so I believe that Jehovah Shalom. That's what they use in the Old Testament. You want the shalom in your house. You want the peace of God in your house. It is so important to have that in your house. If you have a chaotic house, it is your job as the leader of that home, whether you're the single mom, you're the single dad, or you're the husband or wife. Step in, stand in a gap, create a safe, love-filled environment. Give grace to your kids, guys. Give grace to your kids. Don't raise wimps. You don't want to raise raise wimps, who don't know how to handle criticism, who don't know how to handle failure. Failure is a part of life, but you have to get back on the horse. But you want to raise strong, young, young girls and young men. One of my things, I'm gonna close with this. I don't believe in my daughter being like something that she's not, like a feminist trying to be a man. God didn't create her like a man. God created her a woman. Well, she's a little girl. I ain't ready for her to be a woman. Lord, not yet. God created her a female. So I want her to be her whole self, her whole personality, that she can not only, be able to have the ability to serve herself, take care of herself, but the ability to serve her family and serve other people. Because that grows. If you have a servant's mindset, not in a way of servitude or a slavery thing, but yes, a mindset of not the self, but I'm thinking about other people, your children are going to grow up to be great, selfless people because they practice generosity, they practice selflessness. And so my wish and prayer, my hope for our daughter, my wife and I's daughter, is that she grows up to be her whole self, serving others, so that in her strength, all the strengths of her character and even her weaknesses, that when God brings that man one day in the late future into her life, and and she says, Dad, I want to marry this guy. I want her to be an amazing partner where she could partner with her future husband. And it's a healthy environment. It's a healthy marriage. It's a healthy team. You don't want an argumentative woman or an argumentative man to be your partner. It's just not healthy. So blended families, man, we're still a work in progress. It's not easy, but if you're a stepdad or a stepmom, put yourself in situation. Put yourself in situation to grow. Don't write them off. Engage with your children. And also remember, your partner is not the enemy. There's only one enemy, that's the devil. Your partner's not the enemy. So that's today's show. That's the VR Chronicles Blended Family Episode 2. We have our link in the show notes. We have a Etsy store, and we're making these cool hats. Humility, some proverbs there. And if you like these hats, we have like t-shirts and a sweatshirt hoodie. Check it out if you want to. That's how we support our channel, support our podcast here. Also, please remember on Apple and Spotify to follow the VR Chronicles. You won't miss an episode there. And lastly, if you could go on YouTube channel, subscribe to the VR Chronicles, press that like, share, comment button, tell me where you're coming from. And if you have any constructive feedback or recommendations, I'm open to it. And I like dialoguing with other parents, other men out there that that are trying to do the right thing for their families and for their their environment where they live in, their communities. And also, if you're a mom or stepmom, you just want to shoot a question, I'll be more than happy to answer to the best of my ability. And if not, I just ask my wife, hey, babe, can you help me out here? We definitely want to be a people that's very helpful and, service other people. Hopefully, my little story meant something and can help you who are listening to this. Have a great day. God bless you guys.